extraterrestrials have evil and ominous intentions, but not all invading alien forces have these evil intentions. The primary example of this is the classic 1951 movie, a seminal film called The Day the Earth Stood Still. This movie stresses the destructive power of atomic weapons and the gloomy fate of the Earth if the alien warnings are ignored. The Day the Earth Stood Still is directed by Robert Wise. This film views atomic technology as evil. The movie is overtly against the proliferation of atomic weapons and goes against the grain of the official U.S. government agenda at the time. Now, the original title of the film is not The Day the Earth Stood Still, but The Day the World Stopped. Now, the movie is a straightforward criticism of the atomic bomb's morality and is directed at adults, not children or teenagers. The movie has a moralistic tone and presents a cautionary tale concerning atomic annihilation and the loss of social control over technology, and overtly promotes a world government with scientists and average Americans intellectually and morally superior to the impulsive and destructive military. Now, in the movie, a flying saucer approaches and circles the Earth, finally landing at the President's Park Ellipse in Washington, D.C. The military quickly encircles the spacecraft. Now, Michael Rennie, a soft-spoken, human-seeming alien, emerges from the spacecraft and states that he has come in peace. He slowly advances and unexpectedly opens a small cylindrical device. The alien is quickly shot by a nervous and trigger-happy soldier. A large robot slowly emerges from the spacecraft. The robot's name is Gort, and he is 8 feet tall. Now, the robot disintegrates all the Army's weapons by using a ray that emanates from its open visor. It doesn't harm anybody, but it destroys all the weapons. Now, the alien visitor deactivates the robot with a command. Now, it turns out that the device he had in his hand was a gift for the president that would have enabled the American commander-in-chief to study life on the other planets. The wounded alien is quickly taken to Walter Reed Hospital and reveals that his name is Klaatu. I've always loved that name, Klaatu. All right. Now, Klaatu is an emissary from an organization of planets, and his purpose is warning Earth. International disputes and atomic weapons essentially are endangering the entire universe, and Klaatu seeks to present his message to the entire world at the same time. Meanwhile, while he's in the hospital, the Army tries to enter his spaceship. Well, it's virtually impregnable, and Gort the robot stands by silent and immobile. Now, Klaatu heals himself. He heals his wound with a salve. Now, a Mr. Harley, who's the president's secretary, rejects the proposal that is mentioned by Klaatu. Now, Klaatu is played by the great Michael Rennie. Now, Klaatu basically tells Mr. Harley that political differences, Cold War enemies, don't make a difference. We have to make this revelation to the entire world. President's secretary says, no way. Klaatu is now under armed guard, but he manages to escape. He steals a suit that's labeled Mr. Carpenter. Well, he runs away. He escapes. He goes to a boarding house and uses the Carpenter name. Now, the residents of the boarding house include a World War II widow, Patricia Neal, and her son Bobby, who's played by Bobby Driscoll, I believe. The next morning, radio and television broadcasts are filled with these stories of the alien Klaatu's escape. And over the course of the next few days, Klaatu, known as Mr. Carpenter, becomes friends with the widow Helen and the son Bobby. The alien begins to learn about ordinary people. Klaatu takes Bobby, the widow's son, to the park to see the ship, and they visit Arlington Cemetery and the Lincoln Memorial. Klaatu Carpenter decides that despite the brutal military establishment that covers the planet Earth, there is inherent goodness in the ordinary people of the planet. Klaatu then goes to see the greatest living person on Earth, a scientist. He asks Bobby who this person might be, and he happens to live in Washington, so they go to the home of Professor Jacob Barnhart, who's played by Sam Jaffe. The professor's not there. Klaatu/Carpenter adds a mathematical equation to the problem on the blackboard that the scientist Barnhart, Sam Jaffe, is currently working on. Mathematics, of course, being the universal language. And he leaves his contact information with the housekeeper. Dr. Barnhart, Sam Jaffe, is presented as a positive social element. He's an Einstein-like character, the smartest man in the world. And he's sought out by Klaatu the alien in order to present the alien's revelation to Earth. When the government and military men, our leaders, refuse to listen. Now, Sam Jaffe physically resembles Einstein, and The Day the Earth Stood Still clearly portrays the scientist as the hero. This is, of course, for the time, the beginning of the Cold War, a daring experiment for a film studio to do. Einstein, at this time, this point in time, was being attacked by Congress and the Senate for his activist role. He was considered by many to be a foreign-born agitator. Einstein urged some witnesses not to testify before the Congressional Anti-Communist Investigative Committees. Now, Klaatu and Bernhardt finally meet. Klaatu tells his message to the scientist that beings from other planets are concerned for their safety over the development of Earth's atomic power. If the interplanetary message is not listened to, planet Earth will be eliminated. Barnhart calls a meeting of scientists from both the East and the West. This meeting directly resembles the Cultural Scientific Conference for World Peace that took place in New York City in 1949. That was held amid massive protests. The scientist also suggests to Klaatu a demonstration of his power. In the film, the scientists and the army are in direct conflict. The army is presented as arrogant and ignorant. The military establishment sees the alien being Klaatu as a threatening invader who must be destroyed. But the scientists see Klaatu as a visitor who possesses superior knowledge and who can contribute to the future destiny of the human race. Klaatu, after visiting the scientist, seeks out the widow, Helen, Patricia Neal, at her workplace and admits to her that he is the alien being and asks for her help. They are trapped together in an unoccupied elevator